Clara, a woman with an easy smile and an open heart, always believed in love. The kind of love that fills your chest with joy and makes your eyes sparkle with hope. Her life seemed complete when she met Lucas, a charming and attentive man who entered her life like a ray of sunshine on a cloudy day. Clara and Lucas met at a mutual friend's party. One of those nights that no one expects to be special until everything changes in the blink of an eye. Their eyes met from across the room, and something inexplicable happened. It was as if time had stopped, and only the two of them existed in that moment. The connection was instantaneous. They talked all night, laughing and sharing stories as if they were longtime friends. Lucas had a caring way of speaking, always concerned about Clara's feelings. He seemed to understand every emotion she kept in her heart. The following months were like a fairy tale. They became inseparable, living adventures and creating memories together. Candlelit dinners, spontaneous trips, and lazy afternoons on the couch became their routine. Lucas made her feel safe and loved in a way she had never experienced before. For Clara, Lucas was her safe haven, the person she could trust blindly. And so, after 2 years of dating, the long-awaited marriage proposal came. It was a magical moment, in a flower-filled park, with rose petals in the wind and the sunset as a witness. Clara said yes, with tears in her eyes and a heart overflowing with happiness. In that instant, Clara believed she had found the love of her life, the person with whom she would build a future full of love and companionship. However, she did not know that storm clouds were slowly forming on the horizon. The trust she placed in Lucas and the solidity of that love would be tested in ways she could never have imagined. And so begins the story of love, trust, and the harsh reality of betrayals that can change the course of our lives forever. Clara lived in a state of euphoric happiness, but like a whisper in the wind, small signs began to appear. At first, they were easy to ignore, small details that went unnoticed in a busy and love-filled daily life. The first sign came on an ordinary night when Lucas came home late. He had always been punctual, and this delay, without prior notice, was something new. Clara casually asked what had happened, and Lucas, with a smile that didn't reach his eyes, mentioned a work meeting that had run late. She wanted to believe him, so she accepted the explanation without question. A few weeks later, another moment caught her attention. They were on the couch, watching a movie, when Lucas's phone buzzed with a message. Clara, by pure reflex, glanced at the screen and saw a familiar name. Gabriel, his best friend. It was a simple message, but the gleam in Lucas's eyes as he read it bothered her. Clara brushed off the feeling, believing it to be unfounded jealousy. But the signs continued. Lucas started to withdraw, becoming more absorbed in his own world. The moments of intimacy and deep conversations they once shared seemed to be becoming rare. Lucas was more distracted, and sometimes she noticed a lost look in his eyes, as if he were somewhere else, living a life Clara was not a part of. There were also the small excuses to leave the house, the secret calls, and the smiles exchanged with the phone. Clara felt a pang of insecurity but always pushed the negative thoughts away. After all, Lucas loved her, didn't he? One afternoon, while organizing some documents, Clara found a receipt from an expensive restaurant she didn't know. The date on the receipt matched a night when Lucas said he was working late. Clara's heart raced, and an insidious doubt began to form. She decided to ask about it, and Lucas, with a serious expression, explained that it was a business meeting with an important client. Clara wanted to believe him, but the doubt had already taken hold. These signs, although small and easily justifiable, began to accumulate, forming a pattern Clara could no longer ignore. She felt something was wrong but didn't know exactly what. The fear of being paranoid and the trust she had in Lucas kept her in a state of denial, but the shadow of doubt grew every day. Clara was about to embark on a painful journey of discovery and self-awareness, where the hardest truths would be revealed, and she would have to confront the reality of her relationship. One night, while Lucas was taking a shower, Clara was sitting on the bed, distractedly flipping through a magazine. Lucas's phone vibrated, and a message appeared on the screen. Normally, Clara would respect Lucas's privacy, but something compelled her to look. It was a message from Gabriel, his best friend. "I can't wait to see you tomorrow night. I love you." Clara's world collapsed at that moment. Her fingers trembled as she held the phone, and her heart raced wildly. The message was clear and undeniable. She felt a mixture of shock, pain, and confusion. Her mind spun, trying to process the meaning of that message. How could it be true? How could Lucas and Gabriel, two people she loved and trusted, betray her in this way? Lucas came out of the shower, drying his hair with a towel, and noticed Clara's devastated expression. "What happened?" he asked, concerned. Clara, still holding the phone, looked up, tears streaming down her face. "Lucas, what is this?" Her voice trembled as she showed him the message. Lucas froze, the color draining from his face. For a moment he was silent, not knowing what to say. He began, but the words wouldn't come out. She felt as if a knife had been driven into her heart. "You're cheating on me with Gabriel? How long has this been going on?" The questions came out in a whirlwind of emotions. Lucas tried to explain, but the words seemed empty, incapable of justifying the betrayal. He admitted that yes, he was having an affair with Gabriel, and that it started shortly after their relationship began. Clara felt a wave of nausea and had to sit down. The reality of the situation was overwhelming. Everything she believed about her relationship, her friendship with Gabriel, was crumbling. Lucas tried to hold her hand, but she pulled away, unable to bear his touch. "Why didn't you tell me? Why continue with this farce?" Clara asked, the pain evident in her voice. Lucas, with tears in his eyes, explained that he was confused about his own identity and feelings, and didn't want to hurt her. But these words only intensified Clara's pain. She felt betrayed and used, as if the past years of her life had been a lie. That night, Clara couldn't sleep. Lucas's words echoed in her mind as she tried to figure out how to move forward after such a devastating revelation. Clara spent the night tossing and turning, her heart and mind struggling to comprehend what had happened. The pain of betrayal was overwhelming, but there was also profound confusion. How had she not seen it before? How could she have been so blind to the signs? In the days that followed, Clara isolated herself. She couldn't face Lucas, and just hearing Gabriel's name made her stomach churn. The happy memories she had shared with both of them now seemed tainted, shadows of a reality she could no longer believe in. Clara started reflecting on moments that had seemed strange in the past. She remembered the times Lucas seemed distant, the knowing glances between him and Gabriel that she had always interpreted as friendship. She began to question every detail, every conversation, trying to find the clues she should have noticed. The doubt about her own judgment consumed her. How could she trust herself again? How could she trust anyone else? She felt lost, ungrounded, like her life had been a house of cards collapsing at the slightest touch. Clara also started to question her own identity. Had she done something wrong? Was there something wrong with her? She felt inadequate, as if her inability to see the truth was a personal failing. These thoughts plunged her into a pit of sadness and self-doubt. She avoided talking to friends and family, afraid of their judgment, afraid that the pity in their eyes would destroy her even more. But she also felt a desperate need to vent, to share her pain with someone who could understand. During this period, Clara turned inward, seeking answers within herself. She meditated, wrote in a journal, and tried to put her feelings into words. There were moments when anger took over, moments when she wanted to scream, to confront Lucas and Gabriel, to demand answers she might never get. And there were moments of profound sadness, when all she wanted to do was cry until she had no more tears left. Her internal struggle was exhausting, a constant battle between the desire to understand and the need to move on. Clara knew she had to find a way to heal, but every step felt heavy, every day a mountain to climb. And so, amid the pain and confusion, Clara began to search for what was left of herself, to try to piece together the broken fragments of her life and discover who she was beyond the betrayal, beyond the pain. Clara decided she needed answers. The internal confusion and constant doubts were driving her crazy. She knew that the complete truth, as painful as it might be, was necessary for her to start healing. So she began her own investigation, determined to put together the pieces of the puzzle that was her life. First, Clara started observing Lucas more closely. She noticed patterns she had previously ignored. He seemed more nervous when he received messages on his phone, often leaving the room to take calls. There was also the perfume she smelled on his clothes, a scent she didn't recognize, but that was present on his shirts when he returned from work meetings. Determined to uncover the truth, Clara decided to confront Gabriel. It was a Saturday afternoon when she called him, asking to meet at a quiet cafe in the city. Gabriel, unsuspecting, agreed. When they arrived, Clara felt a knot in her stomach but knew she had to be strong. "Gabriel, I need to talk to you about something serious," she began, trying to keep her voice steady. "You and Lucas, are you having an affair?" The question came out faster than she intended, and the shock on Gabriel's face was evident. Gabriel hesitated, his eyes shifting to his hands, and then he began to speak. "Clara, I never wanted this to happen. Lucas and we connected in a way we didn't expect. But we never wanted to hurt you." His words were laden with guilt and sadness, but they didn't ease Clara's pain. She listened as Gabriel explained that their relationship had started innocently but quickly turned into something deeper. He confessed that they both were afraid of hurting her, which is why they kept it a secret. Gabriel was visibly distressed, but his words only confirmed what Clara had feared. With a heavy heart, Clara went back home. She felt a mix of anger and sadness, but also a strange sense of clarity. Now that she knew the truth, she had to decide what to do with this information. She started digging deeper. Clara read old messages between her and Lucas, looking for any signs she might have missed. She consulted mutual friends, trying to understand how everyone around her could have ignored the signs. Each new piece of information was a step toward the truth, but also a new wound opened. One night, while Lucas was asleep, Clara took his phone and started reading his messages with Gabriel. The pain of seeing their words of love was almost unbearable, but she continued. She found photos, secret plans, conversations that revealed a double life Lucas had been leading. When she finished, Clara knew she couldn't delay the inevitable any longer. She needed to confront Lucas again, but this time, armed with the whole truth. It was time to face reality and decide what to do with her life from that point on. With her mind filled with the truth and her heart heavy with pain, Clara decided it was time to confront Lucas again. She knew it wouldn't be easy, but she needed to face this reality to start healing. That night, while Lucas was on the couch, distracted by a TV show, Clara approached, feeling the weight of her decision with each step. She sat next to him, her gaze firm but laden with sadness. "Lucas, we need to talk," Clara said, her voice trembling slightly. Lucas looked at her, noticing the seriousness in her eyes. "About what?" he asked, trying to hide his worry. "About us. About you and Gabriel. I read your messages," Clara said, holding his phone in her hand. Lucas went pale, the shock and guilt evident on his face. "Clara, I didn't want you to find out like this," he began, but Clara raised her hand to silence him. "I know you didn't. But I found out. And now we need to talk about this honestly. Why did you do it? Why did you deceive me for so long?" The words came out with evident pain but also a need to understand. Lucas took a deep breath, his eyes filled with tears. "I never wanted to hurt you, Clara. When we started dating, I was really in love with you. But over time, I started to realize I had feelings for Gabriel. I was confused, scared of losing you, scared of being who I really am." Clara listened, trying to process his words. The pain and betrayal were still intense, but she also felt a thread of empathy for his confusion and fear. "And why did you stay with me? Why didn't you tell me the truth?" "Because I was afraid, Clara. Afraid of losing you. Afraid of facing reality. I thought I could hide it. Keep both things separate. But I was wrong. I hurt you in a way I never wanted to," Lucas confessed, tears streaming down his face. Clara felt a mix of anger and compassion. "You took away my chance to make a choice. to decide what I wanted for my life. Now, I don't know how to move forward. Lucas tried to hold Clara's hand, but she pulled away. I understand you were confused, Lucas. But that doesn't change the fact that you betrayed me, that you lied to me all this time. Silence hung heavily between them. Lucas was visibly distraught, and Clara felt a deep pain, but also a clarity about what she needed to do. I need time, Lucas. I need space to understand all this and decide what I want for my future. Lucas nodded, grasping the gravity of the situation. I'll respect that, Clara. I'm so sorry for everything. I never wanted it to end like this. Clara stood up, feeling the weight of the world on her shoulders. Neither did I, Lucas. Neither did I. And with that, Clara walked out of the room, leaving Lucas behind, knowing that this confrontation was just the beginning of a long journey of healing and self-discovery. The next morning, Clara woke up with swollen eyes from crying so much. The night had been an emotional whirlwind, and she knew she needed to face another painful part of the truth. Gabriel, her best friend. Lucas's betrayal was hard enough to bear, but Gabriel's betrayal cut even deeper. Determined, Clara picked up the phone and called Gabriel. He answered quickly, his voice full of concern. Clara, how are you? I wanted to talk to you after yesterday. Gabriel, we need to meet. Now, Clara said, her voice firm but laden with pain. They met at the same cafe where Clara had confronted Gabriel before. The atmosphere felt heavier, as if the very air was aware of the seriousness of the conversation about to take place. Gabriel was visibly nervous, his hands trembling slightly as he held his coffee cup. Clara, I'm sorry. I never wanted things to get to this point, Gabriel began, struggling to find the right words. Clara looked him straight in the eyes, feeling the anger and pain boiling inside her. How could you do this to me, Gabriel? You were my best friend. I trusted you more than anyone. Gabriel lowered his head, unable to hold Clara's gaze. I know, Clara. I was a coward. I fell in love with Lucas and didn't know how to handle it properly. But that doesn't excuse what we did to you. No, it doesn't, Clara responded, her voice firm. You not only betrayed my trust, but you also destroyed our friendship. I always thought that no matter what happened, you'd be there for me. And now, I realize that all this time you were lying to me. Gabriel began to cry, silent tears streaming down his face. Clara, I'm so sorry. I know my words don't change what I did, but I want you to know I never meant to hurt you. If I could go back in time, I'd do everything differently. Clara felt a tightness in her chest, seeing the man she considered a brother falling apart in front of her. But the pain of betrayal was too deep to be easily forgotten. Regret doesn't erase what happened, Gabriel. And I don't know if I'll ever be able to forgive you. It's going to take time. She stood up, feeling the need to leave that place, to breathe air that wasn't heavy with so much pain and disappointment. I need space, Gabriel. I need time to understand all this and decide what I want for my life. I hope you understand. Gabriel nodded, wiping away his tears. I understand, Clara. And again, I'm really sorry for everything. If you're ever ready to talk, I'll be here. Clara left the cafe, feeling exhausted but also a bit lighter for having faced Gabriel. She knew the path to healing would be long and difficult, but this was another necessary step. As she walked through the streets, Clara began to think about how she could rebuild her life and her trust, not just in others, but in herself. Days turned into weeks, and Clara found herself plunged into a deep mourning. The pain of betrayal and disillusionment was still intense, but she knew she had to move forward somehow. The process of acceptance and healing began slowly, with small steps. Clara spent more time alone, reflecting on her life and choices. The nights were particularly hard, with the loneliness weighing heavily on her heart. But in those moments of quiet, she began to face her emotions head-on. Sadness and anger came in waves, but there were also moments of clarity and understanding. She started writing in a journal, pouring her thoughts and feelings onto the pages. The act of writing was therapeutic, helping her organize her emotions and process the pain. The words flowed like a catharsis, allowing Clara to start letting go of the burden she carried. Gradually, Clara reconnected with friends and family. She realized she needed support and accepted the help offered. Conversations with trusted people were a balm for her soul, reminding her she wasn't alone. Through these interactions, Clara began to rebuild her self-esteem and confidence. An important step in her healing process was seeking professional help. Clara started therapy, finding a safe space to explore her emotions and better understand her experiences. Her therapist helped her recognize that Lucas and Gabriel's betrayal wasn't a reflection of her personal worth. This was crucial for Clara to start forgiving herself for not seeing the signs earlier. Therapy also helped her explore her identity and rediscover who she was outside the relationship. Clara began to rediscover old passions and venture into new activities. She started painting again, a childhood passion she had put aside. The colors and shapes on the canvas were an expression of her emotional journey, and each brushstroke was a step toward healing. Clara also began to exercise regularly, finding a new vigor in taking care of her body and mind. Walks in the park, yoga classes, and gym workouts became a form of moving meditation, helping her find balance and inner peace. Through this process of self-discovery, Clara began to recognize her own strength. She faced the pain and disillusionment head-on, and while the scars were still there, they were a testament to her resilience. Clara started to see the betrayal not just as an end, but as a new beginning, an opportunity to rebuild herself and become an even stronger and more authentic version of herself. Acceptance came slowly, but Clara learned to embrace each small step of progress. She knew healing wasn't a destination but an ongoing journey. And with each passing day, she felt a bit more whole, a bit more ready to face the future with courage and hope. As time went on, Clara felt an inner transformation. The pain was still there, but it was now accompanied by a sense of rebirth. Each new day brought an opportunity to rediscover herself and connect with the world in ways that had previously seemed impossible. Clara began exploring new activities and engaging in experiences that expanded her horizons. She signed up for pottery classes, something she had always wanted to try but never had the courage to do. Molding clay with her hands was a way to reconnect with her creativity and feel the joy of creating something new from scratch. The learning process and the mistakes along the way were, to her, a metaphor for life. Imperfect but beautiful. In addition, Clara joined a meditation and mindfulness group. The weekly sessions helped her find inner balance, allowing her to focus on the present instead of dwelling on the past. Meditation brought a clarity of mind she had never experienced before, helping her handle emotions in a healthier and more conscious way. Another significant change was her decision to travel alone. Clara had always had an adventurous spirit, but her travels were always in the company of friends or Lucas. This time, she decided she needed a solo journey to rediscover herself. She chose a destination she had always dreamed of visiting: Tuscany, Italy. The trip was a revelation. Walking through the streets of small towns, exploring vineyards, and savoring the local cuisine were experiences that rekindled her love for life. Clara spent days in museums, absorbing art and history, and nights in cafes, simply watching the world go by. Every moment was a rediscovery of her own independence and strength. During the trip, Clara met new and inspiring people who shared their own stories of resilience and overcoming adversity. These connections reinforced her belief that despite the hardships, there was always a way to find light. The friendships she made in Tuscany were a reminder that the world was vast and full of possibilities. When she returned home, Clara felt revitalized. She enrolled in a creative writing course, something she had always wanted to explore more deeply. The classes were a space to express her emotions and transform her experiences into stories that could inspire others. Clara also volunteered at a local organization that helped victims of betrayal and emotional abuse. Sharing her story and listening to others' stories was a healing experience. She found purpose in helping others find strength and resilience in their own journeys. This new phase of her life was marked by a sense of self-sufficiency and a deep desire to live fully. Clara realized that Lucas and Gabriel's betrayal, though painful, had led her on a journey of self-discovery she never could have imagined. She was reinventing herself, not just surviving but thriving. Each day was a new opportunity to grow and learn. Clara felt deep gratitude for all the experiences, both good and bad, that had shaped her. She was ready to embrace the future with an open heart and a resilient soul, knowing that no matter what happened, she always had the strength to get up and move forward. As time continued to pass, Clara found herself in a place of peace and acceptance that once seemed unattainable. The emotional scars were still there, but now they served as reminders of her resilience and growth. She had become a stronger person, more aware of herself and her needs. One day, while sitting in a park, watching the leaves fall from the trees in autumn, Clara reflected on her journey. The pain that had once consumed her now felt distant, like a memory of a difficult time that had led to profound transformation. She felt a deep sense of gratitude for all the lessons learned and the people she had met along the way. Clara decided to write a book about her experience. She wanted to share her story of pain, betrayal, and most importantly, redemption and self-discovery. Each chapter she wrote was a way to release the last remnants of pain and celebrate how much she had grown. Her writing became a source of inspiration not just for herself but also for those who read her words and found strength in her story. One day, Clara received an email from a publisher interested in publishing her book. She felt euphoric, not just for the recognition of her work but for the opportunity to help others through her story. The book was published and quickly became a success, receiving praise for its honesty and emotional depth. Beyond her literary career, Clara continued to engage in activities she loved. Her pottery work began to gain attention, and she organized a small exhibition in a local gallery. The response was overwhelmingly positive, and Clara felt immense joy in seeing her creations appreciated by others. In her volunteer sessions, Clara became a figure of support and inspiration for many. People saw in her an example of overcoming and resilience, and she felt a deep sense of purpose in helping others find their path to healing. Each shared story was a reminder that despite the hardships, there was always hope and the possibility of a new beginning. One day, during one of her meditation sessions, Clara felt a deep peace. She realized she had reached the end of one cycle and the beginning of another. She had overcome the pain of betrayal and found a new life full of possibilities. The future was uncertain, but she was ready to face any challenge with courage and an open heart. Clara began giving talks on resilience and self-discovery, traveling to different places and sharing her story. Each talk was an opportunity to touch lives and inspire others to find their own inner strength. She became a powerful voice of hope and renewal, a beacon for those still in the dark. And so, Clara continued her journey, living each day with fullness and purpose. The betrayal by Lucas and Gabriel had been a painful ordeal, but also the catalyst for profound transformation. Clara had found not only herself but also a way to help others find their own strength. In the end, Clara learned that life is a series of chapters, and each one, no matter how difficult, contributes to the whole story. She was ready to write the next chapters of her life, with the certainty that no matter what happened, she would always find a way to rise and move forward, stronger and wiser than before.
Hi, you are on the Moving Narratives channel. Subscribe and follow our stories.